Hey everyone, both in person as well as everyone joining us online, overseas and whatnot. My name is Felix and I have the absolute pleasure and honor of taking us through Vibe Coding 101. Essentially, the goal for today is making an app from scratch without needing to know how to code at all, which is really, really cool. So let's get started with just a quick little bit of an intro here. We're living in a day and age where it's never been easier to go from an idea to a working prototype so that you can show to your parents or to your friends, like, hey, I've got this idea. Do you want to invest in my startup? It's literally never been easier to do that. The only thing that you need is to have the idea in the first place, right? So in the next couple of hours, give or take, we're going to go through what is the easiest and most efficient workflow to go from an idea that you might have into something that you can show friends like, hey, this is what I've been working on. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. And our goal here is to, of course, empower everyone so that you can do this in your own time. I'll be hand-holding everyone through this step for the next couple of slides, but you should be able to do this by yourself in your own time as well there. So a little bit about me. I'm currently a third year of my degree of my Unimob MD with a Master's of Biomedical Engineering. That's my cat, Yumi. Fun fact about her, my mum has set up her work profile as her holding Yumi. And so everyone thinks that she owns like a massive mountain cat because my mom's like pretty short and Yumi's quite large. So like in comparison, everyone in the office thinks that she owns like a lion as a pet. But yeah, she's absolutely adorable and I'm shattered that I can't be with her right now, but that's all right. Cool. So a couple of, we'll go through two quick examples, just a quick gist of the workflow overall, and then I'll go through step by step and we'll do everything together so no one misses out here. So let's start with an idea here. So this is an idea that my mate had. He wanted to do something similar to like a plastic surgery wound care clinic. So oftentimes, how it works in real life is it takes 1 to 4 weeks between each visit. If you have a wound, let's say you get like a burn, you need a doctor to see how it's healing. You visit them every 4 weeks. It's a different doctor every single time. It takes a really long time for you to like scroll through your camera roll exactly like, oh, here's my wound here from 4 weeks ago. Here it is right now. It's really tedious, right? And so as a result, wound deterioration is missed oftentimes, and this inconsistency leads to worse outcomes overall. So that's the idea. How do we tackle that? Well, what we can do here is we can start with an app. The way that we structure this app is we start with something called a project requirements document or product requirements document. This is creating essentially the blueprint for how it is that we're going to be tackling this problem and how we envision our application looking like, right? We're going to head over to trusty old GPT-5 or any large language model, really. We're going to give it a series of instructions. We're going to say, write me a product requirement document. My idea is ... And importantly, we're going to say, ask me some questions before you actually make it. And the purpose of that is so that ChatGPT or any large language model understands exactly what you're envisioning, so you can create the blueprint for what you want to make, right? So that's going to eventually get you to a product requirement document. It's going to be a list of words, essentially. We're going to put that onto something called Lovable. Now, Lovable, what that does is it makes a working prototype for you. And if we copy over our product requirements document from ChatGPT, we eventually get into a series of steps. It's like, yeah, I'm building it now. Let me cook, whatever. And we get to something that looks like this, where you can see here that there's a patient portal where they can upload what they want to upload in terms of like how the wound is going every couple of weeks. And then the doctors, they have a dashboard where they can look at how the wound is progressing. And so it's the same doctor every single time, right? And so literally you were able to do that in the span of 5 minutes. You just needed to have the idea, access to the internet with ChatGPT, and making a Lovable account, which is free as well. So the downside with Lovable by itself, though, is that it's very restrictive in the sense that if you wanted to further tinker with this application more, it takes really long time to do so. And also, it costs a lot to do that. And we can see here that, it looks great, but, there's some slight formatting issues on the left-hand side over here. It doesn't look completely crisp. So what we can do with that, here's just more examples of what it looks like on the patient side and then the doctor's side. You can see like it's really fleshed out, right? I have not coded anything, but it's already got what I want, essentially. So for us to tinker with it a little bit further and actually perfect it into making it like a really good prototype or a customer-ready prototype, we connect that to something called Cursor. Cursor is this really cool application that allows us to really get into the nitty-gritty and modify each individual bit so that I can change the colors, I can change a web page, I can add in a bunch of more functions here. We can connect to Cursor via GitHub. And again, there's a lot of buzzwords going on right now, like Cursor, GitHub Lovable. I'll go through that in a little bit more depth when we actually go through the real-time demo. But for now, this is what Cursor is going to look like. And eventually we can use Cursor to finalize our edits on the app and get it to be, I guess, in its final form, essentially. To go through another idea, just to get everyone excited for like what's to come. As a medical student, I have trouble interpreting chest x-rays. So I was like, oh, why don't I make like a application, right, that points out exactly, oh, this is a curly B line. Look at this exact spot for you to figure that out, right? So let's say, hey, ChatGPT, make me a product requirements document. This is what I want to make. It's going to be like, cool, here's your product requirements document. I'm going to copy and paste that, chuck it over into Lovable. Lovable is going to cook up its coding, whatever, and it's going to make my application for me, right? And if I load that up, connected via Cursor, whatever, eventually this is what it looks like. I can have the option to upload a chest x-ray, and then it's going to point to exactly, oh yeah, look at this spot for this pathology or this over here. As you can see, it's not perfect because that is not high lung fullness or right lower lobe opacity, but you get the gist of it, right? That's the goal of today, to get to that point, and then we can refine it further so the application works as intended. Cool. So where do we start from then? To go from an idea to a prototype, we need to start with an idea first. So in the next couple of, I guess, sessions that you're going to have, you'll go through with Deepak and Netam the actual by design process. This is supposed to be like a really lengthy process, and for the purposes of this workshop, we're just going to pick from a selected list over here. So looking at this list over here, feel free to like work in pairs or as a group or work by yourself, doesn't really matter. Pick an idea, doesn't have to be fully fleshed out, just you have an idea, doesn't even have to be healthcare related. We're just picking an idea so that when we go through this together in person or in real time, you're able to follow along step by step here. So I'll give everyone just a couple of moments just to think about, oh yeah, that's a cool idea that I haven't thought about, or oh, I always wanted to make this thing and I never had the opportunity to. So I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to have a think about that. In the meantime, for people both in person and online, can I just get a quick raise of hands if everyone's like downloaded like Cursor, Node.js, Lovable accounts? I think there was like a couple of things to download. Can I just everyone could just like either raise your hand or something like that just to show me that you've downloaded all that. Awesome. Seems like majority of us. Thank you, thank you. For people online, just wanted to check in with their beautiful working on it. No stresses at all. You'll have plenty of time to download that as we go through the session as well. Maybe I'll turn on my camera as well, just so that people can attach a name to a face here. There we go. Cool. Alrighty. Hopefully everyone's had a bit of a chance to just think about or have a bit of a tinker about what they exactly want to make in the next couple of minutes to hours for this workshop. Just for the people in person, have we all got an idea? Beautiful. All right, let's get started with actually making that idea come to real life then, all right? So step number one, I'll just go through a little bit of teaching just to combine it all together before we actually make up the product requirements document. So this is going to be our toolkit that we're going to be using for today. We're going to be using 5 programs essentially. ChatGPT, just because I like using ChatGPT, that's going to make our product requirements document. I'm going to use the analogy of building a vending machine to go through what each of these things make and contribute in order to produce such a vending machine, right? So I like to think about the PRD as the blueprints. It's going to tell my manufacturer, here's roughly what my vending machine should look like, and here's the specifications and the sizing and what elements and buttons I want, right? I'm going to give that to Lovable, which is my manufacturer. That's going to make what we call the front end of it. It's going to make the thing that the customer sees and is going to interact with. It's just going to make the shiny, glossy outside of it, right? Lovable, it's only going to make a very stock standard vending machine. So if I wanted to, for example, change the color of it or make more buttons or can get like a completely new layout of this vending machine, I need to do that a little bit more with Cursor. So to go from Lovable to Cursor, we combine that for a couple of things. One of those things is called Superbase that provides the backend. In terms of a vending machine, the backend is essentially the inventory of it. So as a customer, at least for this model over here, I don't actually see how much of each quantity of each drink I have left, or what exactly is going on behind that initial vending machine. Superbase takes care of that. It's going to tell us, oh, you have this many products left, or you've got this many users logged in, or you have this many pictures of runes saved inside of your application. GitHub is this thing over here, but a version control of a time machine. GitHub is essentially the Google Drive of coding. You're going to be saving different versions of your code. And if you wanted to go back in time and like, oh shit, I've made a really bad edit over here, it's completely crashed my application, you can go back in time via GitHub and load up that previous iteration. And Cursor, I like to think about as your own personal toolkit so that you can finalize exactly what it is you're trying to make. In fancy terms, we call that an integrated development environment or an IDE. You'll see that term thrown a bunch around if you get into this sphere a little bit more. But for now, you just need to think about Cursor as your helper that's going to help finalize your product, essentially. So let's go through step number one, which is getting to that product requirements document, the blueprint to start making your application. I want everyone to load up some version of a large language model. I'm just going to use ChatGPT just because I have it accessible. What we're going to do is we're going to come up with this prompt over here. Write me a lovable PRD. Lovable is the program that we're going to be using. And importantly, Lovable has a very particular structure when it comes to making the product requirements documents. So any large language model is going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to make the PRD with this structure in mind. My idea is blank and fill that in. And before you hit enter, ask me some questions to clarify what I want. And that's just so that ChatGPT can understand, oh, do they intend for this to be an international product, or do they intend for this to be something that they just use for themselves? So for people online and for in person as well, let's go through that together. Just going to quickly open up ChatGPT here. Alrighty, so doesn't matter really which model you use. If you're on a free version of ChatGPT, that should work a-okay as well. Let's say make me a lovable PRD. My idea is GP or ED. Users can input their symptoms and the app will tell them to go to the GP or ED. Before you come up with an idea, ask me questions to clarify. I'm going to hit enter and it's going to glaze me. It's like, oh, that's such a great idea. Wow, you're an absolute visionary for thinking of that. So it's going to ask me a couple of questions. And importantly, you don't have to answer all of these questions. You can leave some of them blank if you don't understand what they mean. It's just basically making sure that what you're trying to make envisions or matches up with the PRD that it's about to generate. So let's just say I'll answer a couple of them. Yeah, only between GP and ED. Actually, also a good idea. I didn't even think about that. Should we include GP, nurse on calls or home care advice? Yeah, include all of that. Primary user is the general public. Let's say symptoms are selected manually, as in typed. And then let's say I'm getting bored and I feel like these are too many questions, and I say, just make me the PRD now. Cool. So eventually we'll get up to this stage over here where it's going to be like, cool, here's your PRD. It's called my application care part, which is quite nice. It's going to give me like, oh yeah, here's the problem statement, here's the product vision, goals, non-goals, primary users, scope, so on and so forth. It's just going to be like a really long list, right? So what we're going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste that for now. And I'll give everyone a bit of a chance to come up with their own PRD, go through a couple of the questions, a little bit more fleshed out. But this is what we want to get at the end of it, right? Just this PRD so that we can copy and paste it into the next step of our plan. So yeah, I'll give everyone maybe like 5 minutes, give or take, depending on how we all go, to see if we can come up with that PRD, and we'll get started with the next step shortly. By AI toll for the prompt generation, good question. Very minimally so. As in, like every time that you ask a query to a large language model, there's always going to be a cost to it. Usually, if you're making with like a free account on ChatGPT, there's no cost on you per se. Um, but I don't know if people. Hey Deepak, are you guys going? Have you guys gone through like the cost of using a large language model?
Like with APIs and whatnot.
No, as in like water usage or like energy
What I'm
usage.
speaking briefly,
Oh, nice.
maybe
Oh, okay, okay. Maybe just to reiterate some of the potential speaking points that might have been covered before. As with any AI model, essentially, if you for one single query, I think like a year ago, it used to cost like 500 mils of water to like cool the system and to complete that query. Now it costs, I think, 1/15th of a teaspoon of water. So yes, there's a cost, but it's very small, and I believe it's going to continue getting smaller unless there's like a sudden bound, leap and bound in AI development, and that like models have like trillions upon trillions of parameters, and that's determined to be by far the best model. But yeah, there is a cost, but it's very small. But I may be biased in saying that just because I like AI a lot. Alrighty. Just checking in with our in-person audience, how are you all going with making that PRD? All goods? All goods? No worries, no worries, no worries. Alrighty, let's say maybe like another 90 seconds to get up to the stage of having a PRD. Just a reminder, this is the end goal, just having like a long list of, I guess, a long list of requirements essentially, so that Lovable knows what exactly it is that we're trying to make. And alrighty, hopefully that was enough time to get up to the stage of getting a PRD. If you haven't, that's completely okay. You can just let that keep running in the background as we go through the next couple of steps. Step number two is taking that PRD and getting that onto Lovable, which is going to make the front end of our application, right? The thing that makes it all look shiny and all that. So a couple of things we do before we hit enter onto Lovable. Number one, we're just going to be pasting our PRD onto the big white chat box onto Lovable itself. Two things that I recommend though. The first one is depending on your application, sometimes it's better to connect it to Supabase earlier than compared to later. As a reminder, Supabase is the backend of our application. Essentially, it's where we store all of the data of like how many pictures we have, any queries that we've run, any information or like personal data that has been saved, anything like that. So if you're making an application that requires like users to make an account or something like that, I'd recommend just click on Supabase, and it's going to take you through a couple of buttons to click on to connect it. And then the other thing is just make sure you're using like GPT-5 or something like that. So let's do that in real time as well. I'm just going to open up Lovable over here. And I need to log in. Hopefully I don't need to make an account from fresh. Let that load. And alrighty. So, got it. That's okay. So I'm just gonna, whoops, not copy that. I'm going to copy and paste my PRD part over here. Chuck that straight in. The formatting is going to look a little bit whack because it's going to lose all of its bullet points and whatnot. That's a-okay. No need to worry about anything over here. To connect up to Supabase, we're going to click on that plus sign and then go integrations. It's going to take me to like, oh, log into your Supabase account. Do you authorize it to make stuff and whatnot? And I'm going to hit yes to everything. And I'll share my entire screen as well, just so people can see a little bit more. Okay, cool. So we can see here that, oh, has it connected? give it a second to connect. Hopefully that has connected. If not, it doesn't seem like it's connected. That's a-okay. It's not an absolute necessity to connect to Superbase right now at the moment. We can always do that in a later step. That's okay. You can choose a theme, which is quite nice, but I'll just leave it as default for now. Let's hit enter. So Lovable is going to take my product requirements document. It's going to use its own AI to come up with what it thinks my website should look like or what my application should look like. Usually this takes maybe like 4 to 5 minutes. You can see that if I click on that, oh, never mind. I used to be able to click on that and be like, oh yeah, the user wants this, the user wants that. And it's going to be coming up with its own code in the background. And yeah, that's getting that ready there. So we can see here that like, oh yeah, I'll create care path, a gentle, trustworthy symptom to care helper that guides users through a clear decision flow. Sounds really cool. It seems like it's understood what I wanted to make, and now it's just going to be loading up all of the code needed to actually turn that idea into a website now. So we'll give it a couple of seconds to let that load. In the meantime, there's a bunch of ads that we can watch if we get bored whilst we vibe code, which is quite nice. I think there's an ad for Lovable itself, which is interesting. Yeah. Cool. For people online, if you are stuck at any stage or like something's not working or something isn't making sense, please jump into one of the breakout rooms for troubleshooting. And I believe Deepak, who's currently in there right now, should be able to tend to all of your needs. But hopefully everything's working so far. It does take a couple of minutes for Lovable to actually finish making your project. So just let that cook in the background. And hopefully at the end of it, you're blown away. It's like, wow, this is so cool. My website looks great. I can't wait to monetize it and start making money off of it. No, don't have that as a thought. It's okay to have that as a thought. I should not be handed a microphone right now. I ramble a lot. That's okay. Alrighty, so seems like for me at least, Lovable has finished making um, a prototype. It's saving its changes. I think it's made a sound or something like that. I've got this many credits remaining. Let's see if we can preview that. So, drum roll, please. Lovely. So this is my care path website that is made for me. We can see that it's got a very important emergency, call 000 immediately saying like, hey, if it's an actual emergency, don't actually use our website, go to an actual hospital instead. But we can see that, yeah, I can click on like, oh yeah, here are some common symptoms that you may or may not be experiencing. Describe something further. Let's say I also have a bloody nose. And you can, add in a bit more detail. I'll just go ahead and answer some of these questions, get recommendation, and oh, it looks like I should seek emergency care immediately. But yeah. So let's say my idea was a little bit better, a little bit more fleshed out, and it wasn't as I guess black and white as should I go to a GP or should I go to ED? You've made a working prototype in literally like 5 minutes, right? And it's very easy to recreate. Now, if I wanted to refine this further and have like a better diagnostic system, hook this up with an AI system to better diagnose or manage a patient, something like that, that's what we're about to get onto. So we're going to give everyone a couple of moments just to make sure everyone's up to this step where they can see that they've got like a working preview of some type of application. You can, play around with it. It won't impact the code at all if you make some edits here and there, whatnot. What I would just not recommend is continue talking to Lovable because I can see that I've got 2.5. I don't know how much your credit is, but I'm going to run out of it eventually. To avoid that issue, we're going to move this onto Cursor very shortly. So people that are in person or online, people that are online, give me a thumbs up if you're able to get to this spot and you've got like a working prototype. People in the room, could I have you put your hands on your head like we're back in primary school?
Chat, someone saying they can't copy the text from checking.
Oh,
Like they're copying. Not sure if that's.
Um, Interesting. If you're unable to copy the entire text, try copy and pasting just like a snippet of it. Again, the really cool thing about Lovable or any like website builder essentially is even if you have like a part of your idea, it should be able to make uh, pretty much the whole website. Oh, yes. If you're having issues with like copy and pasting or not, join one of the breakout rooms and Deepak will sort you out. Yeah, I've got a question about, would you mind explaining what's the purpose or function of Supabase? Great question. Supabase is what we call the back end of this. So the purpose of Supabase is to store all of the private information that the user shouldn't normally be able to see. So for example, everything that we see on Lovable right now, we call this the front end because I'm able to interact with it, see it and whatnot. Let's say, for example, I have like a create account feature for my application where you can create an account and you can save your details. You can save like, oh, a couple months ago they used this website and they had these symptoms, and now they have these symptoms, and they have this previous existing conditions of like, oh, the diabetic patient. So all the information, we don't want to save that on our public website, right? Because that's accessible. We don't want just any random person knowing that, like, oh, Felix Zoe of in Australia, he has type 1 diabetes, for example. To keep that safe, we store that in Supabase, which is our backend. It's kind of like the warehouse where it's you can't access it globally, essentially. Alrighty. I just wanted to check in with everyone in the room. How are we all going? Have we got into like an application or like something that we can start clicking on? All right, beautiful. Um, oh, beautiful. Hands on heads. Love it. Love it. Love an abuse of power there. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get started with what the next couple of steps are going to look like now to really flesh out this application into like a really good working prototype, right? So, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get this onto Cursor. As a reminder, Cursor is what we use to get really into the nitty-gritty and make some of the really important edits to our code as much as possible. And the way we do that is via GitHub. So GitHub is like the Google Drive. We download our code and upload it to GitHub so that we can get that onto Cursor. I know it's like really long-winded, like why can't we go directly from Lovable to Cursor? Don't have a good answer for you there, but I'm sure it's just like monetary reasons. But yeah, we're going to get this onto GitHub first, and then we're going to take that onto Cursor. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll take you through that. To do that, we're going to click on this cat icon-ish that in the top right corner that says sync your project to GitHub. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to connect it to GitHub. It's going to say that it's not connected just yet. You might need to like sign in a bunch of times, but hopefully transfer anyway. And if you haven't logged into GitHub yet, you might see like a couple of like pop-ups. It was like, are you sure you want to trust Lovable with your GitHub information? Just click yes and allow. Yeah, don't question anything essentially. I don't question it. I've got no idea what they're doing, but it works 100% of the time that I have tried it. But eventually you'll see a point where it's like, oh yeah, your project is now connected to GitHub and you can view it on GitHub now. And just to show you what that looks like, we can see that this is my, again, my Google Drive essentially, right? It's got all of my files of code. Again, like I have not written a single thing. If I click on this file of code, I'm sure there's like going to be a bunch of code in there that I've got no idea what it does. But yeah, it's given me like, oh yeah, here's your welcome to your Lovable project. Here's how to edit your code, something, something like something. But the important thing is now we have our code saved somewhere so that when we open up Cursor, we can load it up. Before we get it onto Cursor, I just want everyone to pay attention to the next step, which is for Cursor to see your code, you need to make it public. So if you go to settings on your GitHub page and you scroll down, you'll see the danger zone, and you just want to change the visibility to public over here. Understand and read this. I need to put in my password. Hopefully I remember my password. Beautiful. There we go. So there we go. The reason why I want it to be public is just so that when we go into Cursor, it's able to download from our Google Drive, essentially, or download it from GitHub. Once we've done that, we can change it back into private. Public means that also anyone on the internet can also access your project, which is usually okay, unless you've got like some really sensitive information on your project. But just change it to public for now. Remember to change it back to private if you are working on like a top secret project that you don't want anyone to know about. For the purposes of this workshop, hopefully no one has decided to hack into government secrets of any kind. But cool. So we'll pause here, just give everyone an opportunity to get up to this point where they've finished making the lovable website, they're connected it onto GitHub, and they change it to public before we load this up onto Cursor. Yeah, good luck, everyone. Remember to jump into one of the breakout rooms if you're having any difficulties following along or want any clarifications on anything. But hopefully things are making sense and everyone's following along so far. Alrighty, just checking in with how we're all going. People that are online, just give me a thumbs up if we're up to this stage. People in person, how are you all going? Up to the same point, everyone on the same page? Seems like it. All right, beautiful. Thank you very much for the interactions, everyone. Lovely, lovely. So now that we have this onto GitHub, we're gonna essentially download this and put it onto Cursor. So what I want everyone to do is now open up Cursor. Alrighty, so Cursor is, okay, there we go. It's loaded up, but okay. This is just another project that I'm working on. I'll close this so you see what should be seeing. Close folder. And well, it's doing its thing. Give me 1 second, everyone. Let me close that. Let it load. Alrighty. So if you load up Cursor, this is what you should see. Maybe not some of the recent projects. But what we want to do to be able to go from what we have made in Supabase and get that onto Cursor is we click on this middle button over here called Clone Repo. And that's going to bring up a bit of text in the top part over here where it's going to say provide your repository URL or pick a repository source. What we're going to do is we're going to jump back over to our GitHub page. And if I just go to like the home page of this, I can literally just copy the link of this of like github.com/my username/care-navigator. I'll get back onto Cursor and I'll paste that where I need to put in my clone repo. I'm going to hit enter and we can see that it's going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, where do you want to save all of this code? So on my desktop, I'm just going to make a temporary file. I'll go new file or new folder. And I'll call this care part, which is going to be the name of this. And I'm going to select it as my repository destination. Yep, would you like to open it? Yes, I would. So we can see here that simply by clicking on that button and copy and pasting the link, I'm able to now go from the code that I had in Lovable to that same code, but onto Cursor now. So I'll just make sure this is usually like the step where I lose a lot of people because Cursor doesn't like to behave well depending on the weather and the mood and the day and the time of the day. So I'll pause here and just make sure that everyone's able to get to the point where they've got like all of the code files, like their package.json, package.lock.json, whatever the hell that means, onto Cursor before I go through exactly like how to use Cursor and what exactly we're going to do from here. So people in the online, please join one of the breakout rooms. If I've lost you at any stage, totally a-okay. But hopefully we'll get up to this point where we've got Cursor open and we've got some moments of our code here and there. My Cursor does nothing. Yeah, okay, cool. So I feel like I should have done like a magician act and like wrote down a prediction at the start of the session and be like, oh, I actually predicted this. Yeah, so it turns out that for some reason, like every 1 in 5 laptops, when you click on clone repo, nothing happens. Yeah, yeah. Like just put up your hand like on Zoom in person. If you click on clone repo, does something not happen? That was like 1 in 5 of us. Yeah, as predicted. Anyway, that's totally okay. If you do have this issue of like you click on clone repo and nothing pops up, let's go through that scenario right now. I'll quickly just close this folder, and if that does happen, that's a-okay. There's a very easy workaround for that. So instead, we're going to open up a project. We don't have a project at the moment, so I'm just going to make one temporarily. I'll go to my desktop, make a new file or make a new folder. New folder. I'm just going to call this new care path. Doesn't matter what you call it, where you save it, just make sure you remember where you save it so that you can open it up again, right? Oh, I've just opened up my entire desktop. Don't do that. Make sure you open up just the file that you want. Apologies there. Let me open up the actual thing. Desktop. I will go new care path. Okay, so I've just opened up just like a blank folder, and what we're going to do now is on the right-hand side over here, where you can go like new chat, where I'm just going to say, can you download my code from my GitHub link, essentially like github.com/username/ the name of my product. I'm going to hit enter, and just like you talk to ChatGPT or you talk to anything, it is going to be like, yeah, cool. I'll go ahead and download that for you essentially. Okay, cool. So you can see that as it works, it's going to be like, oh yeah, cloning the repository into the workspace, checking the directory contents, running some PowerShell commands, a whole bunch of like hacker stuff, right? So we'll just let that do its own thing, and slowly it should be running. And there we go. We can see that it's cloned it or copied it essentially. And inside of my new care path folder, all of our files that we want to have in there are now in there as intended. Alrighty. So hopefully that helps everyone a little bit about like what happens if you click on clone repo and nothing happens. Should be a suitable workaround there. Just to get an idea for how everyone's going online, could you just like put up a thumbs up as a react if you're able to get to the step where you've got it on cursor and you've got all your files in front of you essentially. Beautiful seeing some thumbs up there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so if you could click on phone from the button,
Beautiful.
does anything happen?
All right. For people that are in the room, have we got up to the point where we've got this on cursor? Yes. Kind of, kind of. Okay. Well, it seems like a couple of people are stuck in this step. So we'll maybe like spend 5 minutes just troubleshooting. So if you're online, jump into one of the breakout rooms. If you're in person, I will head around. Cool. Hey everyone, it is me again. For people online, I've just been told by Isabella that if you are making a cursor account using your personal details, like your personal email, you may not be eligible for like the 1 year free trial of like cursor credit. To get around that, use your uni email or student email, anything that has like .edu in it, and that should be able to access like 1 year free of cursor. If you don't have like a working uni school email as well, no stresses at all. That works fine as well. It just means that you can't use like some of the more recent paid models, but that's a-okay. Alrighty. Um, hello, everybody. Let us continue working, and we're getting to like the final, like pretty much the final stretch of the workshop essentially as well. Before I let everyone sink the teeth into like really flesh out their applications. Um, so hopefully we're all at the stage where we've got this screen up in our cursor, we've got our files on the left-hand side. I'm just going to teach everyone like what cursor does or how to navigate cursor essentially. On the left-hand side, we have all of our folders and all of our code. We can click on each folder and code if we want, just to be like, oh, yeah, I don't know what it's doing, but yeah, that's the English part over there. Cool. On the right-hand side over here, this is where we're going to be interacting with cursor the most. We've got the chat function. We can create a new chat if we want to, just to like come up with a new idea. Here's our history of our previous chats. Inside of this, you'll notice that we can click on this button over here, and there's three modes. There's agent mode, plan, and ask. Agent mode is the one that I'd recommend just sticking to. Agent mode means that it can edit your files, it can create new files, it can search a database, it can answer your questions, anything like that. Plan mode means that it makes a plan, but it won't touch your files. So if you have trust issues and you're like, I don't trust Cursor editing my code, then use plan. And same thing with ask. Like ask mode is just asking ChatGPT like, hey, what's the answer to my question? But it won't edit your code for me. So if you wanted to edit your code, stick to agent mode. In this middle button over here, we can, by default, I think it will set to auto. We can see that within Cursor, there's a whole bunch of different large language models that it's going to pick from to be able to answer your query. Auto means that it's going to pick what it thinks is the best model, or essentially the cheapest model, so that they save on costs and you get some shitty code. I would recommend turning off of auto if you have the opportunity to. If you have like a free account, you may not get that option. That's completely A-okay. Well, up to that stage in life, I guess, where AI, even its really shitty version, is able to do what you want it to do essentially. But if you want like maximum output, what I would recommend is Gemini 3 Pro. At the moment, that is the one that's like topping the leaderboards in terms of benchmarks when it comes to code editors or like making code that runs efficiently and does it in like the least amount of spaghetti code or least amount of lines possible, something like that. So if you have the option to do Gemini 3 Pro, choose that. Otherwise, just stick to auto. This thing over here, it just means like the more models that you use, the better of an output you get. So I can use 4 Gemini 3 Pro. It's going to use up my credits 4 times as quickly. That's okay. Just stick to one. Don't touch that. And there's also like voice input. So you can like, I just imagine this one, like Iron Man was like, Jarvis, make me this helmet like 2 times solid. Like, you can do that as well for Cursor. Essentially, it's what it's going to be doing for you. Alrighty. The other thing I'll just quickly mention is if you go to View and then Terminal, sorry, let me get some buttons out of the way. View, and then where's my terminal? Sorry, I've got too many buttons in my way. Sorry, this button over here. The 3 dots, Terminal, and then New Terminal over here. What the terminal is essentially talking to the laptop itself. So everything that we're doing right now is talking to Cursor, and Cursor is going to be talking to this file, but we want to be talking to your laptop because your laptop is the thing that's going to be running your application essentially. So what I'm essentially going to do is inside of my folder, I'm going to go npm run dev, and I'll paste that into the Zoom chat as well, but npm run dev. So the letters npm run dev. And it's going to tell me Vita is not a recognizable or something. That's okay. What it means is that we need to install a couple of things for our laptop to recognize how to run this code. So I'm going to move over to my chat function over here, and I'm going to say, install everything needed to run my application. It doesn't have to be that exact wording. You just need to tell it to like, hey, I'm missing some stuff. Make sure I've got it installed for me. And it's going to look inside of your configurations file or your requirements file and be like, oh yeah, they need to install these couple of things for the application to run. So it's going to do its magic. Just make sure that when it comes up with like this like do you want to run this command? I just click on allow every single time because I trust Cursor for my life. I don't trust that it's going to delete everything off my laptop, though it theoretically can. I just click allow every time, and that just saves you some time here. Whoops. It seems like I'm running out of credit, so I'm just going to switch it back to auto mode, just so that it runs a little bit faster. And we will let that run. Hmm. It seems I'm running into some internet issues. Connection failed. Please check your internet connection or VPN. Do, 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 do. If this doesn't work, I might try my hotspot. Do, 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 do. Alrighty. Hopefully everyone online hasn't run into the same issue as me, which is I don't seem to be connected to internet for some reason. I'm not too sure. I'll try hotspotting myself. Yeah. Do
No, it's like the Node.js, but the running script is too late. I remember like Node.js. You always posting it, so
Alrighty. Just to talk through what's going on at the moment. Um, I hopefully have installed everything that I need to install. Okay, there we go. That's fine. Um, uh, Normally, you should be able to talk to Cursor and it's going to be like install everything that it needs to install and do it automatically. My cursor is misbehaving at the moment. What you can do instead is you can just do it yourself. So inside of your terminal, essentially, is you can go npm install and that's gonna, whoops, I should not have done it again. But if you do that, it's gonna take a while to install everything, but it's gonna install everything that it needs to be able to read your code and run it. But eventually, once we do that and we go npm run dev, it's now gonna give me a link to a local host or essentially a website. And now my laptop is now running my website for me, essentially. So here is the same care path that I needed to have, or that I made a couple of minutes ago with Lovable, that is now on my laptop, and it's safe from the internet, and I can do whatever I want with it. And I can see that, I can put in my buttons, I can put in my descriptions, stuff like that. So I want everyone to get up to this stage where they're able to see like local host something, 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 and they're able to edit their website essentially. So best of luck. Jump into the breakout room if you have troubles, which I assure you, there's going to be a lot of difficulties and errors of like, oh, I can't install that, I can't install that. That is a-okay. I would say talk to Cursor and be like, hey, what's wrong? Can you fix it for me? If that doesn't work, jump into the breakout room and Deepak and I will sort it out for you. But yeah, best of luck. We'll check in very shortly. And there's like I think a couple more slides to go through, just like what are API keys and stuff like that. But we're getting close to the official teaching portion of the workshop. So really good job for keeping up with us so far. And thanks for understanding with like the difficulties. We should be getting there. I'll check back in very soon, but best of luck getting to care path or getting your website working at the moment. Fingers crossed.
Wait, Felix.
Yes.
Across issues of getting on this case.
Hey everyone that is online at the moment. I'll quickly just help with some troubleshooting if anyone has a question. Just because I think there's a bit of a backlog in Deepak's room right now. Does is anyone like having any difficulties or want anything answered? Ooh, I got these lines. Build failed. Oh, build. Um, can I just double check, Henry? And feel free to unmute as well, by the way. Um, did you do npm run dev when you got the error? Like, what did you type to produce that error?
Yeah, I typed that line, npm dev run, and then it ran for a bit and eventually
Right.
showed these
Right,
lines.
gotcha. What I recommend then is on like the cursor chat box, like just this one over here, just be like, install everything needed to run my app and hit enter. That should essentially sort it out for you. It would be like, oh yeah, let me install this, install that, fix this bug in your code over here, and that should get around that error. Let me know if it doesn't.
Yeah, actually, I texted in the chat box first, and
Yep.
then I installed all the required files, and then eventually I typed that line in the terminal, which yielded these errors.
Ah, I see. What you can do then is you can also add that to the cursor output. So for example, I can, oops, I'll need to get like for example, if you highlight some text over here, or if you highlight your error, there should be an option to put that onto the chat. They'll be like, do you want to add this to the chat? That just tells Cursor a little bit more information and be like, oh, you're experiencing this error. Let me help you out there. So if you just highlight your error and add it to the chat, Cursor should know what to do with that. Great question, Alish. Yes. So what we can do now is we can talk to Cursor, and we'll do this in the next couple of steps as well, as a group. But yeah, you can edit everything on your local host now. So you can talk to Cursor and be like, oh, I don't like how my title page looks. Can you make it look better? Or there's a bug here. Can you fix it for me? You can talk to Cursor, and it will edit that for you in real time, and you can see your changes in real time as well. Hey, Lishba, just answering your question there. A couple of things could be causing that. Could I just double check that you're still running your local host file? So what I mean by that is like inside your terminal, you should still be seeing that like if you do like npm run dev, it's still like running it essentially. It's like localhost 8080 or whatever. It's still running that. What I suspect might have happened is like it stopped running it. If that is the case, just npm run dev again, and it should just rerun it. But it should update in real time, and it should be like, make this change, and it should appear on your website in real time as well. Alrighty, everyone. We're just coming back to the main session. Just a couple more teaching slides. I'll go fast.
Guys.
Chef's kiss. Anyway, welcome everyone. We'll just go through a couple more teaching slides. I know we're really desperate, just like sink our teeth into like an actual project and like finish tidying it up. I'll just go through like a couple more things just to like really make your project shine in like specific niche scenarios. Number one, hopefully you've had a chance to like play around with Cursor and get it to like do minor or major modifications to your website. Just a couple of tips for that. If you're making a specific change for your website, what I would recommend or highly recommend is adding some type of picture, as in like, so for example, like if I take a screenshot of my front end over here, then I go to Cursor and I'm like, I'll go to a new chat just so it knows that it's going to be something new. It'll be like, can you change the font to Comic Sans instead? So number one, I'm just telling it like, yeah, change this specific page and not like change the entire website. It just gives it some more context, right? As you would like, if you tell a friend like, hey, can you do this? You show them a picture or like, show them some visual to help them understand. Same thing for cursor, treat it as you would like a regular human being. I feel like I'm very like pro AI as human at this stage, but like something to that degree, like just give it some context so it knows what it is exactly you want to be doing. And as we can see that it's going to be making some edits to my code, deleting some lines, adding some lines over here. It's telling me that it's done. And if I go to my website, I can see that, yeah, it's updating in real time. My website is now in Comic Sans, which is quite fun. Okay, more importantly though, the last couple of things that I wanted to quickly go through. Oops, not that. Scrolled too far. Here we go. Alrighty, so we've gone through what cursor looks like, a little bit of the settings, different modes, context and prompting, and some debugging tips. Onto the bonus stuff now. So you've officially know everything that you need to know to go from an idea to a prototype. Let's say your idea/prototype requires a little bit more rejigging and a little bit more interactions with certain components. So what I mean by that is there's two key concepts that I want to go through. Number one, an API key, and then number two, a backend essentially. So an API key, I've got this very fancy cartoon over here. An API key is something that looks something like this, like SDK-1. I made this up. This doesn't access anything, rest assured. But what it does essentially, it allows you to make a request or like a prepaid request to another service, such as most commonly a large language model. So for example, we can see that in my application over here, I'm picking a couple of common symptoms. I'm going to describe it, whatever, and it's going to tell me should I go to the GP or should I go to the ED. What's happening in reality though is it's just going to be like a yes or no thing. Like if the user selects fever, chest pain, back pain, they need to go to the ED. If they don't select that, they need to go to the GP. It's like a very simple decision tree about like which one I should go to. As you can imagine, in terms of like an actual healthcare application, that's very basic, and there's going to be a lot of cases that are going to fall in between the gaps, and I'm going to redirect patients to the wrong clinic, right? To make it a little bit more robust, what I can do instead of just making it like if they say this, go here, I can involve a large language model inside of the process. So when I go pick these symptoms and then describe these symptoms, what I can do is I can go like ask a large language model. The way that I do that is using an API key. I'm going to give an API key to my application so that when I ask this question, I'm be like, yeah, if I have these symptoms, should I go to the GP or should I go to the ED? I flash in my API key and it's going to give me an answer as a result. So an API key is essentially a magic secret membership card that allows your user to access a different platform such as ChatGPT or Gemini or any other large language model. So how do I get one and how do I, put it into my program? So let's go through that step by step. So let's make a Gemini API key, just because if you have a Google account and you sign up to like Gemini or whatever, you get $500 worth of free credit, which is really, really good because you're not going to burn through 500 credits by yourself in a year. So I'll recommend Gemini. Also, Gemini Pro 30 Pro is also really good right now. So let's go to Google Gemini API or Google AI Studio. Oh, wait, I don't think this is right. Wait, give me 1 second. Nope, that's not the right website either. Yeah. Oh no, it is. It is. Oh, they changed the layout of it. All goods. Yeah, head on to aistudio.google.com or whatever it is. Let's click on Get Started. And we can see that we've got something that looks like this over here. Sorry, view API keys. There we go. So eventually, if you click on all the right buttons, you'll see Create API Key. And if I click on that, let me call it test API key Monash, just so I can get a thing for it. I need to create a project. Let me just create one. Care path, create project, create key. And alrighty, so I've created this key over here. At the moment, I'm connected to the free tier, which means I probably won't be able to get access to like the more newer models of the large language models. And I can only do like a set amount of requests per day, but that's okay for the purpose of this application. What I can do is I can copy the API key over here. And if I head it over to cursor, I'm going to be like, here is my Gemini free API key. And I'm going to give it to cursor. And I'm going to tell it, can you make the decision tree of ED or GP be based on a large language model call instead? So I'm essentially telling cursor, instead of just making like a hard-coded, if they tick this symptom, go here, it's going to ask a large language model instead, and hopefully that's going to be a little bit more accurate than just, if they have chest pain, go to the GP or ED. So it's going to make a to-do list, it's going to do certain things, but essentially it's now integrated the API key inside of the application itself, so that every time the user clicks on, should I go to the ED or GP, it's going to get an answer from the large language model, essentially. Cool, cool. Any questions on that so far from anyone, online or in person? No. Cool, cool. Making sense so far. Great. I'll let that keep going. In the meantime, I'll just go through the last concept that I wanted to go through as well, which is front end versus back end. So everything that we've been doing so far essentially is the front end, which is what the user interacts with, right? Backend is essentially what you want to hide from the user so that they don't see like private or confidential information that you don't normally want them to see, right? The API key is an example of one of those things that you want to hide in the backend, right? Because if somebody gets access to your API key, they can order an unlimited amount of drinks, or they can make an unlimited amount of calls to the large language model. And keep in mind, you're the one paying for these calls, so they can like overcharge you, for example. So the way that you keep stuff hidden from the user is you store it in a database instead. And that's where Superbase comes in. So if you have like account profiles, API keys, patient details, or pictures, anything like that, you want to make sure that that's hidden from the user, and Superbase does that. The way that you actually use Superbase with your application is you want to, let's say I'm talking to Cursor, I'm like, hey, I want to make an account creation system so people can remember their detail/symptoms. I want to use Superbase for this. Help me do it. What Cursor is going to do is it's going to come up with a plan. It's going to be like, yeah, make sure you have a Superbase account. Once you've made a Superbase account, give me your login details and log in it for me, and I will do it all essentially for you, right? So you can see here that it's installing Superbase.js, which is like the integration so that Cursor can talk to Superbase directly. It's going to do a whole bunch of stuff, but essentially I'll just show you what Superbase should look like with an application that I have prepared in the meantime. Dashboard over here. So this is what Superbase looks like. I'll just open up this project over here. We can see that Superbase is just a whole bunch of tables with a whole bunch of information. So for example, let's say I've got like a bunch of images that need to be saved. I will store that all in my Superbase over here. So I have like that image that I want to be saved in my Superbase because I don't want people to access that image. If it was like more private, it was like, I don't know, a picture of a mole that a patient uploaded, I don't want other patients to access that. I only want a specific user or doctor to be able to access that. So that's the purpose of Superbase. Same thing for stuff like over here. Like let's say, for example, I wanted to track how long each user spends on a specific page in my application. I can also use Superbase to keep track of that. So like every 15 seconds, it sends a notification to me, or it adds a new row to my table telling me that, oh, this person has spent another 15 seconds on that particular web page. So the reason why Superbase is so important is, number one, keeps things private, and number two, it gives you a lot of information as a developer for where you should be directing your efforts towards. So for example, let's say you know this information that people are spending 5 seconds on this one particular page because it's like really messy to use, nothing works or whatever. That gives you the information to know that, oh, I should be, making that web page a little bit better, or I should change it from Comic Sans, for example. So information overall is great as a developer, and that's why like you see all those news stories like, oh, this person has stolen all your private data, they're getting sued, stuff like that. It's because data is very powerful, and normally you want to protect that with Superbase or some type of backend, as opposed to leave everything front end. Cool. So hopefully that reinforces a little bit about the general principles when it comes to keeping information hidden, per se. What I'd recommend for the remainder of this workshop, no need to stay the full session if you want to take a break, because you guys have been online for a while. But if you want, I would highly, highly recommend playing around with making an API key, seeing what it can do, and how to connect that into your app. Maybe practicing connecting it with Superbase as well, just while we're here, so that we can give some feedback, give some tips on debugging as well. But if all else fails, talk to Cursor. Be like, oh, hey, this thing isn't working. Can you help me out here? Or any question that you would ask us, just ask Cursor, and they should be able to, or Cursor should be able to answer your query as well there. But hopefully everything has made a bit of sense so far. And if nothing else, you've walked away from this workshop feeling like, wow, AI is really powerful, and I can go from an idea to a prototype really, really quickly, and very accessible. Like, we haven't spent $1 yet, hopefully. It is literally just clicking buttons, signing up for free, and Wi-Fi cost or energy cost. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed so far. We'll stay on for a little bit longer, just so that we can answer some debugging questions, anything like that. But otherwise, thanks for joining us so far. Beautiful. Have fun, everyone. Go wild. We will be here if anything goes wrong. Oh, good question, Alicia. When it comes to like collaboration to ensure data security, it depends on the scale of your application. So for example, if you're making an application that is like hospital specific, then it has to be that specific hospital that you collaborate with, if that makes sense. If you're making an application that is just like a bit more global, like anyone on the world can access it. Like for example, let's say you're like making like a travel vaccine application where it's like, if you travel to this country, you need to know what vaccines you should get. In that case, you don't need to collaborate with anyone, because it's your own website. You're not in affiliation of any company or organization per se.
Yeah, because just on that note, I think in one of the previous lectures there was an article about like an app that was meant to be a safe space for women that someone developed who wasn't like particularly experienced in coding, and then all the data got leaked. So I was just wondering, like, how safe is it to kind of not consult someone who actually has the experience and like make a product that people actually use?
Right, I get you. Yeah, definitely. To be completely honest, from the perspective of vibe coding, everything that you vibe code is not very safe. So everything that we've learned today in this workshop, I wouldn't use this in practice if I was to like make an actual medical application that has like sensitive information involved. You would have to like work with like an actual tech professional to ensure like actual data security there. So as much as like as great as vibe coding is, I would only recommend it to go from an idea to a prototype, not to like an actual finalized product, unless you have like actual coding experience or like you have some foundational knowledge of how to keep data safe, if that makes sense. Oh, sorry, just one thing that I forgot to mention. A really good debugging tool whenever you run into bugs. So for example, let's say I'm on my website right now and I'm refreshing it and like there's a blank screen, whatever. If you want to give Cursor a little bit more information on how to actually work through this error, what you can do is you can go inspect element over here, and that's going to bring up the terminal bit over here, where I can go to, where is it? Sorry, it's, the shortcut for it is F12 essentially, where you want to go to console logs over here. So if you're on Windows, it's F12. If you're on Mac, I think it's still F12. Let me just quickly check with Isabella.
I got this yesterday.
Oh no, that's okay. Can you just quickly go to like a Google to Chrome tab, and if you go F and then F12, hold that and then F12. No, all goods, all goods. So if you're on a Mac, can't help you too much out there, but you want to go to like inspect element essentially, and you should see something like this. And I can just copy and paste that, and that gives Cursor a little bit more information to know what's going on. So in this case, we can see that, oh, the reason why we're just getting a white page at the moment is because a super basic URL is required, and apparently I haven't given one. But hopefully that clears things up a bit.